many of you are on the keto diet right now? How many of you are contemplating? Good, okay. So any questions specific? I mean, obviously Maria look at all the cookbooks. It's amazing. I mean, we can talk about baking and cooking all day long, but do you have any specific questions about the keto diet that she can help with?
So I want to get started on the diet, but I don't know where to start.
My first question always is, what is your goal, if you don't mind kind of expressing that? Because keto's great for so many things.
To be healthy again.
To be healthy again. Can you do dairy? Are you okay with dairy, or don't you really know? Okay. Where to start? So I like to tell people, balls in motion, stay in motion. You have to stop that train from the direction it's going in, which is hard. Long-term habits are hard to break. And I find that instead of cutting those things out of your life, replacing those with better habits helps a lot. I was the pickiest eater. I did a book signing in Chicago, and I was telling the story about how I made my best friend's mom cry because I would never eat her food. That's how picky I was. She would make a homemade dinner, and I would just never touch it. And her mom cried. This wasn't even my mom. And a woman in the back stood up. It was my best friend's sister, who I knew she lived in Chicago, but I didn't think she would come. And she said, "You're talking about Margie Guziak." I just couldn't believe it, but you can change your palate, but baby steps make a big difference. So if it's just changing your breakfast, that's what you're gonna do. And then, like I said, balls in motion, stay in motion. You're gonna start feeling better, and you want that ball to keep going. You want to keep feeling good. And I guess I think every family kind of gets stuck in the rut where you have pizza night and lasagna night and pork chop night. And I did when I was a kid, but they weren't keto. So just change those things that you commonly have. Just make a few changes. I mean, I knew the Toll House cookie recipe without even looking at it, looking at the container or the chocolate chip bag, just by heart. But slowly you'll learn the keto recipes by heart, where you don't need, it's just habit. And don't judge yourself. Like, everybody has slip-ups, but having a keto buddy is really helpful too.
I say the answer is fat bombs. Let me tell you, I got a text message from my mother's best friend who came to New Orleans, and I happen to have some fat bombs. Does everybody know what a fat bomb is? Gertrude Dale, do you know what a fat bomb is? You are missing out on the most amazing thing in life. But I had some in the refrigerator, and somebody said, "Well, I just need a little something sweet." And I was like, "I have a Reese's peanut butter cup that's not a Reese's peanut butter cup." Now they're addicted to fat bombs. Fat bomb is we make them, we have recipes for them. It's basically high fat made with Swerve as the replacement for any sugar that would be in there. So you can layer chocolate, peanut butter, chocolate, and it looks just like a Reese's peanut butter cup, but you've made your own chocolate and peanut.
We're all going to your house after this.
What's that?
We're all going to your house after this.
Exactly. This is Ben's recipe that he shared and created. And so it really is one of those things, I think, that when you have a little go-to sweet, when you're having that sweet tooth, or you find, like Maria said, you find what works for you, but when you're having that little sweet tooth, that you don't break your diet, that you have an answer to that. I think that's one of the most fascinating things about the keto diet, is that there are lots of answers that feel like guilty indulgences, but they're keeping you on your plan. So it's very different than a lot of other diets that are about eliminating things. Yes, we are reducing the carbohydrate count, but it's not about eliminating some of those guilty pleasures. You just learn how to make them differently.
Right, and to your point, well, thanks to Swerve that we can have those options, because I'll tell you, must have been 15 years ago, we're in the trust tree, right? I use Splenda. When I cut that out of my life, I lost 5 pounds in a week. Like, that says a lot. Splenda has something called maltodextrin in it. You don't want to use that. But anyway, I digress. But we have an option now that I know and trust and love. And I spoke on the low carb cruise. This one was a couple of years ago. One of the doctors said, "Why do you even allow treats?" Like, really judging. And he had 2 twin 5-year-olds. And I said, "What do you give them?" Because my kids were young then too, and they're bombarded with, I mean, they watch a cartoon and there's junk food everywhere. And I love, like, if they want a cupcake, I will drop everything to make them that. Someone called me a stick in the mud mom because I won't go to frozen yogurt shops with my kids, but I will make homemade ice cream for them. And I feel like I'm not a stick in the mud mom. I really care about their health. I care about my sanity. I know how they are on sugar, right? But he thought that it was wrong for me to even allow treats, but I like what Andrew said. I like sweet treats, and it made me be able to stick to this diet for decades. My husband doesn't really care for sweets, but one of my children and I do, and so it's great. Like, when birthdays come around, I don't feel like, it's like, I feel like I'm cheating, and I'm not, you know.
Do you make your own birthday cake?
Yes, I make just about everything.
Is there a recipe for that?
There's so many different cakes. My boys are from Ethiopia, and they are true Ethiopians. I do not drink coffee. They love coffee. They love everything tiramisu. They love everything coffee ice cream. So they love, like, my tiramisu cheesecake, which is divine. Even though I don't drink coffee anymore, I use like a decaf espresso when I make that stuff. So, because usually when we have it, it's kind of late. But yeah, there's different cake recipes, but birthday cakes are a little bit non-traditional for our family. It's more like cheesecakes and coffee flavorings and, you know, that type of stuff.
We also have a vanilla birthday cake recipe at Swerve. Just so you know, there isn't a go-to simple, like kind of traditional cake.
Awesome. Yes.
If you want to talk a little bit about carbs and how you feel about net carbs versus total carb counts, and then whether different people, men, women, how you feel about like what total carb count you should be having on a keto diet. I don't know if you want to go into that. I have one of your books. I've read it, but I think you cover it kind of.
Yeah, that's a really good question. If you want to be successful, you got to count total. Don't subtract fiber. I subtracted fiber for a long time, and if you want to be really efficient, and I guess we joke in our family that we're carnivores, kind of. We kind of stick to the zero carb diet. Men versus women. This is a free thing. If you go to my blog, mariamindbodyhealth.com, and go to the keto calculator, you type in your lean body mass. If you don't know that, which a lot of people don't, you can pick a different picture. Say, like, I look more like this body type or whatever you look like, and it will give you your lean mass. That's how much muscle tissue you have, because you want to hit your protein goal. This isn't high protein, but if you live off of fat bombs, then you're not going to build muscle. You can't build muscle off that. So you want to hit your protein goal. That is a goal. That is your only goal. And then, depending on your goal, this is why I always ask what your goal is. Using fat as a lever. If somebody tells you you need to eat 80% fat, go away. Like, don't read their stuff anymore, because if you want to use body fat, it's called the fat flux. Oxidative priority. All of those types of things. If you want to utilize body fat, you have to let it. Which you have to go through oxidative priority. If you're consuming excessive amounts of fat, that's what's going to make your ketones. Okay? If you use exogenous ketones, that's what's making your ketones. If you want to use body fat, which most of the people do, you have to let your body do that. So that 80% fat diet, it will come from your body fat if you let it. And then carbohydrates, play it like a game of golf. The lowest score wins. 0 is best, but even eggs have carbohydrates. So that's how. Does that answer?
How many carbs do you eat a day?
Not just me, but my whole family is probably less than 10. But that's what we have in our house.
That's total carbs.
Yes. We do subtract Swerve carbs because they're non-digestible. You can subtract those. I don't count those. But fibrous, yeah. So like if you would eat an avocado, you're looking at 22 grams of carbohydrates. most people that don't sleep well, their leptin and ghrelin hormones are malfunctioning. And so it happens to me, if I have a poor night of sleep, that appetite, even though I eat keto, is going to be turned way up for most people. A lot of things can affect that. If you drink coffee and eat a lot of caffeine in any way, that increases my appetite immensely. Ask any type 1 diabetic. They have to correct for caffeine. Nobody wants to admit that caffeine affects blood sugar, but it does. So if you think like, I'm gonna have coffee because it turns off my hunger, it will, because it's raising blood sugar, but as soon as you stop, it's gonna come crashing down. Falling blood sugar is where hunger happens. So getting good sleep, cutting caffeine, and if you wanna lose weight, you have to embrace hunger. If someone tells you you can eat 5,000 calories of fat and not gain weight, it's physics. It's the fat flux. I just speaking the truth. So, hunger's usually, I guess, it usually goes away. I don't look at Amazon reviews because I'm very sensitive, if you haven't realized that already. Craig sometimes does, because sometimes you'll get someone just doing a totally bad one that should be taken down. And then you tell Amazon. But anyway, he's like, you just got the best bad review. I was like, oh, I don't really want to know. And he said, no, he said, I hate this diet, I'm always full. And we have video cameras on. I love my mom, but she likes to snack all throughout the day. She does not like this diet because she's always full. Some people, do you know what The Onion is? It's like a joke newspaper. It's super funny. On the cover it said, Americans now eat 1 continuous meal a day. And it's kind of true. And it's totally unnatural. I find that intermittent fasting naturally happens. Even my kids are like, I'm not hungry for lunch. And I was like, okay, tell me when you are. If you think about all the greats in our life, no matter what religion you are, they all fasted. Gandhi, Jesus, even Benjamin Franklin, they all fasted. And that's when they did their best work. We think of Buddha as this fat man, and he really wasn't. He was a pretty small guy, and he wanted to find enlightenment. He grew up very rich, and in order to find enlightenment, he gave up all of his belongings, and he fasted for so long that he almost died. And he said that's not where his enlightenment happened. It happened in the middle. And that's where intermittent fasting kind of got popular, because he talks about how he would break his fast maybe at 9 a.m., and he finished with everything by 6, which is a long intermittent fast. But he said nothing was in between that, just water. No wine, nothing. But that's where he found enlightenment. I thought that was quite interesting. Yes? I don't. I'm actually a little uncomfortable talking about it because people judge me for my size already, which it's just as hurtful as when I was called fat. But I like food too much. This is my job. That I'm fine with once a day if I'm traveling, especially because it's going by so fast. But I've never done longer fasts. But eating at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., that's a typical day for me. No. But then I can get a lot of work done. Good question. My kids were underweight when they first came to Ethiopia. They weren't even on the growth charts. They were so small. I mean, Kai looked like a newborn, and he was 1. He was itty bitty. I carried him in a baby carrier for way too long, but I just never wanted to put him down. Now I got me talking about kids. But they're now they're at the 50 percentile. They joke that they're carnivores because they basically eat 0 carbohydrates. That's what they like. They like steak. They like hamburgers. They like, all of that type of stuff. And if you're worried about the nutrient density in food, I have charts that are all scientifically based. That beef liver, blow, kale, blueberries, you name it. Anything you think has higher nutrients than beef liver, I'll show you it's not true. Vitamins, like everything. So they basically eat 0 carbohydrates, but I don't limit their protein, and I don't limit their fat. I have one son that can't. He'll get red bumps behind his arms, and he gets, we're in the trust tree here, girls, right? Very moody, like me. He can't do dairy. I've dealt with so many people with anxiety or depression, and when they cut that autoimmune, we poo-poo gluten all the time on this ketogenic world, but dairy is a more common allergen than gluten is, but nobody wants to recognize that. I'm from Wisconsin, like this is blasphemy, right? But yeah, for some people, just dairy just doesn't work. And I'm not talking about lactose, I'm talking about the casein found in heavy cream and that type of stuff.
So I know on the cleanse you recommend no caffeine and no dairy.
Right,
So
no nuts.
Right. And so you're saying the caffeine will also increase the blood sugar that you have, will the hot fat dairy do the same?
Yes, for 50% of people it does. Yep, and that's why some people gain weight on the keto diet, so, and they're focusing, like I'll get women, men are better at hitting their protein goal than women, but I'll get women all the time, Maria, I'm losing my hair. I was like, well, what are your macros? And they're like, well, it's 80% fat. I was like, no, I asked for macros, not percentages. They're not hitting their protein goal because they're eating so much fat, they're full. And they're not hitting their protein goal. And the hair follicles and your muscles, they all need amino acids. But it's this blogging community that says we need to stay away from protein. Too much protein turns into sugar. I'm sorry, but a steak doesn't turn into chocolate cake. That's just the truth. It's just scientifically, I'm not saying 200 grams of protein. I'm saying about 8.8 times your lean mass, and that's on average about 80 grams of protein for a female. It's not an excessive amount.
That calculation is about the same for kids? Or
No, I don't limit that for kids. So, especially like type 1 kids and so on.
Well, I have kids that have epilepsy, so I would be interested in putting them on keto.
Yes.
Which my neurologist does support. But she said, well, you're going to stay a few days in the hospital and talk to the dietitian and see if she can, I think that's the biggest thing is getting my kids to want to eat all the protein. I know they'll be satisfied by it, but getting that curve up. And I don't know if it's just start with one, meal a day, that's just protein, and then move up to 2, or try to transition them in.
This is good food. So you just have to kind of find the things that they love and just slowly maybe change them over a little bit. It's a process for everybody. I guess I'm not a short order cook, so if my kids don't like what I eat, well, it'll be there later. That's what my mom did. I don't like pork chops to this day. And I still remember sitting there at dinner and she's like, oh, you're not done? Okay, this will be here for breakfast. And it was. But I don't see a lot of parents doing that anymore. They're afraid that their kids are gonna die of starvation, that they don't eat. I know what my kids really like. I was like, you get those if you eat this. Or, you get iPad time if you eat this. And I don't know, I had to eat chop suey and stuff I despised when I was a kid. I didn't know what French fries and chicken nuggets were. We lived in the woods, But have you watched, it's a Meryl Streep movie, I think in the 80s, about epilepsy? First Do No Harm. Okay. Okay, First Do No Harm is another one. It's old, it's good. It's about the keto diet and how she Went against,
Do no harm.
first, do no harm. Yep. And how she went against all the doctor's recommendations. Are you scared of ketoacidosis? Raise your hand. That's if type 1s don't manage their insulin properly. So. But I want you all to make sure to say a little thank you if you meet the Swerve people. Make sure to eat the yummy food that they have out for you. And just leave today knowing that my whole family is very grateful for your support. And, you know, like, we understand everybody's in a different situation. If you can't buy a book, that's cool. I have like 1,000 recipes on the blog if that's what you want to do. Or ask your library to carry the books if you can't purchase one. But whatever it is, like, we're just very grateful.